Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali. In this episode, I'm going to cover two Pasadena blood gangs, the Pasadena Denver Lanes and the Squiggly Lane Gangster Bloods. The Denver Lanes started in the South Central over 40 years ago. They later branched off to cities like Pasadena and Altadena and have been in those areas for decades as well. The Pasadena Denver Lanes, also known as PDL, are one of the bigger gangs in Pasadena and in the San Gabriel Valley. All of the Denver Lanes are clicked up under the same umbrella, so it's common to see them take on the same rivals, even though they're in different areas. The PDLs beef with hoods like the Do-Rod Crips, the Pasadena Raymond Ave Crips, the Altadena Block Crips, Hispanic gangs like the Villa Boys, and also the Squiggly Lane Gangster Bloods. Squiggly Lane Gangster Bloods are also from Pasadena. They was once clicked up with the PDLs, but broke apart and later became fierce rivals. The Squiggly Lanes also beef with Raymond Ave Crips and the Do-Rod Crips, just to name a few. With all that being said, let's get into some cases. August 1st, 2010. Eli and his girlfriend Alexis went to a liquor store around midnight. Alexis stayed in the car, and Eli went inside the store. Eli was from PDL. Inside the store, he got pressed by some Squiggly Lane Gangster Bloods and got folded like a pretzel by one of the Squiggly Lanes named Trayvon. He got punched on and didn't even get to make his purchase. I know that was a waste of a trip. He tasted a punch, and it wasn't even Hawaiian. Eli got out the store and drove him and Alexis away. While driving, Eli called his homie and told him about the incident about his ass getting socked out. He plotted revenge and even went to his friend's house to pick up something. After that, him and Alexis went home and he stayed there the whole night. Just the next day, August 2nd, just after midnight, Eli pulled up in a green SUV. He drove slowly on the block that Trayvon and several other Squiggly Lanes lived on. There was a crowd of people outside at the time, including a few Squiggly Lane members. Eli pulled up and aired out the crowd. He only hit a man named Tremaine though. Tremaine survived his injuries. Eli was evil as hell though. They said bruh drove off after the shooting and laughed at everybody he shot at like it was a damn comedy or something. Several people picked Eli out as the shooter. Bruh even did the shooting in his girlfriend's car. Eli's girlfriend Alexis was later picked up and questioned, and she told the police everything she knew. She immediately cracked. Alexis told the police how Eli got his ass whooped by some rivals and how that whole night he was plotting revenge, and how the next day he wasn't with her at night even though they lived together. Eli was later picked up, but everybody who talked against him recanted their statements. Eli received 12 years for the shooting though. September 5th, 2011. Ayers pulled up to a Circle K with his group. That included Anthony, Marcus, Eddie, and Jermaine. Ayers went inside the store when he seen a Malibu pull up with two women and two men. The two men were Napoleon and Christopher. As he walked out the store, the two men were sitting by a car. As Ayers was walking back to his car in his group, Napoleon and Christopher asked him, "Where you from, blood?" Ayers, trying to avoid the confrontation, ignored what they said and walked to his car in his group. He got inside the car and said, "Let's get up out of here." Napoleon and Christopher pulled up in the Malibu and started to shoot at Ayers and his group. Ayers grabbed the strap from the car and started to fire back. Anthony was immediately shot. Ayers tried to put him inside the car, but he couldn't, so him and his group drove away, leaving Anthony on the floor. Napoleon and Chris chased after Ayers and his group. Once they couldn't catch up, they arrived back to the scene after Circle K to pick up the two women that they left. Police was already at the scene when Napoleon and Chris arrived. These dumbasses thought they could lie and get away with it, like it wouldn't be cameras or witnesses, or it was smart to come right back to a crime they committed. They told the police Anthony, who was still laid out in the parking lot, was shot by 4 Mexican men. Chris was also shot in the arm, and he said 4 Mexican men shot him as well. Lie about the Mexican man doing the shooting was pure stupidity. Everything was captured on camera, and several witnesses came forth. Napoleon and Christopher were charged with this and several other robberies. Both received life for everything. On December 13th, 2011, Travell was visiting his girlfriend Gina at her apartments. He was from Squiggly Lane. The apartment was in PDL's turf. A PDL member named Anthony knocked at the door and asked Gina if she had a dude in her house. She said no and closed the door. Minutes later, Travell left the apartment and Gina heard gunshots. Anthony was later picked out as the shooter after Gina came forth and several other neighbors who seen the incident go down. Anthony got inside the interrogation room and started immediately ratting. He told the police he was a crash dummy basically. He said an OG named Denver Ed told him to do the shooting, and that's what he did. Anthony was later sentenced to 15 years to life for the shooting. December 25th, 2012. Damien, his girlfriend Tracy, and his homie Jordan were driving through PDL's turf. They were from Squiggly Lane. They heard from a nearby laundromat, "Get them, blood!" Then soon the car began to chase after them. They got to Wyoming Street where the car was aired out. Damon was shot in the eye and crashed the whip into a pole, but he survived. An innocent man who was walking on Wyoming was shot in the head and lost his life. A neighbor on the street had surveillance on their home, and the whole shooting was captured on tape. Damien even told the police who the shooters were. 2 PDL members were later picked up. Their names were Larry and Jerron. Both of them received 25 to life. To conclude this episode, if you haven't already, check out my previous videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.